Welcome back everyone, how's it going? Today we're going to be going through how to play Darius in Season 15. And to do so, we're going to be breaking down the runes, itemization, and the gameplay of two of the best Darius players out there at the moment. Ready to go from the US server, probably watched the stream a few times if you're a Darius fan, and Shingiru from the Korean server. He's an up-and-coming Darius player, the highest ranked one at the moment on Korea, and he's really cooked up a lot of crazy stuff with runes and itemization. He likes to rush Shojin, he likes to run Axiom Arcanist, so we're going to be going through when and where to take that, and the strengths of it, and of course the gameplay, how to utilize it. So if that sounds good, if you want to improve your Darius gameplay this season, then let's get started. How's it going, team? Now, real quick before we start the video, I have a pretty exciting announcement in regards to the coaching program. Alois has joined on as a full-time coach. So if you want the option to be coached by me and him personally week by week and really lock in and improve those fundamentals, the link will be in the description. Would love to see you there, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Starting things off with the runes, and the standard rune page is going to be the exact same as last season. We run Conqueror, Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand, with Nimbus, Cloak, Celerity as the secondaries, and for the rune shards, attack speed, AD, and HP. You should go flat HP most of the time, especially into volatile melee matchups, like Irelia or Riven, or range matchups where you want to be making it volatile, but you can go scaling into the free matchups like a Dr. Mundo, or a Nasus, where it's very free 1 to 5, they're not going to do anything, so scaling HP, you're going to be fine without that extra 55. Now, for the secondary runes, this is where it gets a lot more interesting. The rune page that Shingiru has cooked up, we're just going to be calling him Mirage, the direct translation to his name. What Mirage has cooked up is Axiom Arcanist with Celerity as a secondary. Now, this gives you a lot of extra ulti damage, so combined with the item he's rushing at the moment, Spear of Shojin, your ulti goes really insane amounts of damage, especially late game, but even early game you definitely notice the difference. So this is going to be best taken in situations where you verse champions that have to come towards you. So let's say you're up against Renekton top, Viego jungle, pretty popular champs at the moment, and then any engaged support. You don't really need the extra movement speed to get lots of value from your champion that Nimbus Cloak would give you. Now don't get me wrong, movement speed is really valuable in Darius every game, but extra ulti damage can't be slept on, especially combined with Spear of Shojin Rush, and we'll go through items very shortly. But if you're into dive comp champs that have to run towards you, this is going to be the rune page that I recommend. Now, if you verse the opposite, so a Darius Nightmare comp, maybe a tank Jace top with Zyra jungle and an enchanter like a Janna or something like that, then you can just rush movement speed. Of course, the movement speed runes are going to be a bit better for you. It's going to be harder to get ulti value into that. That doesn't mean it's going to be bad. You can still utilize it, of course. If you test and you just love it so much, you don't want to swap off, you don't let me stop you. But movement speed into those really annoying range comps that don't come into can be a lot more valuable. And if you're versing champs that have to come towards you, and it's very easy to get a reset or get stacked onto a certain champion or two, then the Axiom Arcanist rune page is going to be the way to go. Now, for our other options, we do have Resolve Secondary, Second Wind, and Overgrowth. This is going to be in those really brutal range matchups. I'm talking matchups like Aurora, matchups like Kennen, that are just so painful that if you don't have D-Shield Second Wind, you're not going to be able to play. You can run this rune page into those. Now, for the third option, this is more Xiao Xiao Meng Tech, where you run Cookies and Cosmic Insight, mainly for the cookies, and you take this into really volatile melee matchups. So lanes such as Irelia, lanes such as Ignite Riven, where you're really battling early game, it's going to be a bloodbath. The value from cookies can be extremely high, but I'd say for the average player, if you are into melee matchups, then you can just run Axiom Arcanist because it's not going to be really the difference maker for the average player. But if you're in high elo, Masters Plus, especially in really volatile servers like Career Server, then cookies do give you an extreme amount of value. Moving on to the item builds, and we'll start with the first item, as I'm guessing that's what you're the most curious about. And Triforce and Stridebreaker are still going to be good items on Darius. Raider goes them every game, mainly Stridebreaker, so Triforce into heavy melee comps like a Camille, Silas, Belviv comp, and Stridebreaker into heavy range, especially range lane opponents. Triforce is also a bit more value into champions that you have to split push against, so if you verse champions like Camille, champions like Gwen that you have to fight in side lane, the value of that item goes up. However, Spear of Shojin, now this is the item cooked up recently by Mirage from Korea. He builds it pretty much every single game, and something that's very underrated about this item, and items in League in general, is the build path. It's something that's not really talked about that much, but Triforce is a really good example. It's a great item on Darius. The build path is disgusting. You have to build Sheen, you have to build Halfbound Axe, which are pretty horrible on Darius, where with the Spear of Shojin, Tunneler, Pickaxe Ruby, all really nice items to buy early game. If you have Tier 2 Boots and Tunneler, you're so strong that early on into the game, and picking up a Pickaxe or Ruby on your next recall feels really good as well. Where at Triforce, even though Phage is good, you have to go Halfbound Axe, you have a couple Swords, Dagger, Sheen, some really dogshit items. So the Spear of Shojin, the build path being extremely good, is a big factor as well. Now this is really good in terms of team fighting as well, because the ulti damage is so high. So if you play a nice front to back team team fight, you get a reset, you're going to completely one-shot everybody with Axiom Arcanus and Spear of Shojin, where Triforce is still going to front to back, but a lot of the value comes from being able to 1v1 duel people inside. And for Stridebreaker, a big value of this item is the utility as well. So being able to reach and stick onto ranged champions like a tank Jace and stuff like that, that gives this item a lot of value. But with the Spear of Shojin, if you're versing champions that have to come towards you, you don't really need the value from Stridebreaker or Triforce that much, especially in the season where team fighting is so prevalent. There are so many objectives to fight for. If you just push in a wave, rock up to an objective, make them come towards you, even if they're not necessarily a dive comp, if you have other engage on your team, you're going to be fine. But if you have again, Darius Nightmare comp, where they have a bunch of range champs that aren't really going to check you, you can still go Stridebreaker, of course, but I do recommend giving Spear of Shojin a try if you are a Darius player, especially into heavy melee comps. I would even say it's better than Triforce as your build into heavy melee dive comps. Now for boots, Swifties, Merchants, and Tabbies, going to be the exact same as before. So Tabbies into AD top jungle or really heavy auto attack based comps. Merchants if you need the tenacity, especially if you're up against APCC from top jungle. So champs like a Mumu Sejuani, and from top lane champs like Gragas, Merchants will be very valuable. But if not, if you feel like Merchants and Tabbies, the value doesn't scream out to you, then Swifties are going to be great, especially if you base with around 1k gold at one point. They're a really good cheap pickup. Now for second item, still go Sterak second every game, regardless of your build. It's very rare that I see this deviated from, unless there's a ridiculous situation where it's not really Darius specific. So for example, Yone top Graves jungle. Of course, we're going to rush Randrin second in that game. There's just too much auto attack and crit. Or if you verse Rumble Lilia, you can go more as your second item. So I'm not going to put that in, it's pretty straightforward, but Sterak is going to be a second item over 90% of the time. And I've got some full build examples down below. Something you'll notice that's very common is Jaksho the Protein as your third item. Because if you have, let's say, Shojin and Sterak's or any first item, you have a bunch of flat HP, but not really many resist. So going Jaksho the Protein gives you armor and MR in one item, so it gives you a lot of beef, especially at that point with 2 damage items. You have more than enough damage most of the time. But Death Stance is a great armor item, especially if you're snowballing. So Sterak's with DD, pretty good combo. So if in a game where you're snowballing and they have a lot of AD threats, maybe they have solo AP Orianna mid, she's having a bad game or building like trash, then you can go DD. You don't really need the MR that badly, but I would recommend Jaksho the third item as your default most of the time. And rounding off the build, you normally just go survivability, so Death Stance if you need armor at that point, Force of Nature, Dead Man's Plate maybe if you need a bit more movement, mobility, but the core of the build is of course going to be the first 3 items, knowing when to build the mythic, well the first item, depending on the situation. So to summarize again, Spear of Shojin into melee comps that have to dive into, especially if you have Axiom Arcanus as your rune. You can go Stridebreaker into heavy range comps, especially range top jungle or range lane opponent can give you a lot of value. And Triforce is just an option. If you tested Spear of Shojin, you don't like it, you can go Triforce into heavy melee comps, or if you need to be able to beat somebody inside. So a champion like Alawi, for example, we need to be able to beat her inside, or it's going to be hard for you to move around. Triforce will give you a bit more 1v1 individual damage than Shojin would. However, it does come at the cost of the build path and team fighting being a bit weaker. Next up, we're going to be reviewing the laning phase, and we'll start with Raider. This game he's playing up against a Cassante, and he really utilizes the power of level 1 Darius to gain himself a massive lead in this game. So we'll see exactly how he does so. Level 1, he put a ward down here to make sure Cassante doesn't sneak into that bush, and he's also going to be waiting for the wave to settle. But you'll notice here, the second the wave settles, he goes. Where a common mistake I've seen from our TLA students is they don't wait for the wave to settle and go. They wait for a champion to arrive before they leave. The problem with that is if the champion arrives late, the minions get low HP. Even if you get a great trade, they're going to get that XP. But if you go now, before you've even seen the Cassante anywhere, now the minions are full HP, you start your trade now, that's going to be really awkward for them to get to XP because they have to run all the way through you and tank your Darius orders the whole time, and if you get 5 stacks then the trade is over. So we can see now, trading autos with him, trying to space out the queue, and it's really awkward for Cassante to reach that experience. So just standing here, guarding it, playing really aggressive, not afraid to take damage and make it volatile. And if we check here, even with the XP radius buffs, Cassante still missed 3 minions of XP. But now the next wave is coming in. Really important that you drop your position when the waves are approaching, wait for it to settle, and then go again. So exactly what he does here, he'll pick up a few minions, of course, but he's going to be looking to staunch on this time at level 2 versus 1 and zone even more XP. So you'll see, the reason he didn't go before, not only did he want minions, all these minions were high HP. So if he goes now when they're low, he has to make a choice. You can trade onto me, level 1 versus 2, or you have to give experience. He actually got both hit and got a bit, lucky dip, but the Cassante missed even more XP and got traded onto as well. So already off to a great start. Doesn't matter how many minions you drop. As long as you're getting all the XP from the wave, you're going to get a massive lead in your game. So we can see here, back to catching the wave, and now this minion's getting low HP again, so running at him. He's guarding the minions, he's identifying them in his mind just before a minion gets to 0 HP, so Cassandra can get XP. He pre-moves onto him so that he has to make a choice between getting traded onto and giving up XP. So level 3 versus 1 already, even just half a level, he's in a really bad position. So just keeps the wave like that, really milks the last hit. Doesn't matter that the wave is in an uncomfortable position, because he's level 3 versus 1, really easy for him to brute force and get that wave under tower. So that's exactly what he does here. You can see now, this is his hard push wave. This is the wave that he wants to get under tower as fast as possible to make sure the next wave bounces towards him. He uses the time he's created to go hit the blast cone, find the jungler, and give himself some information. And now back again, walking behind his opponent, trying to staunch him. Leads with Q, auto W, holds onto E, waits out the Cassante W, and then he goes and gets the 5 stacks, burns the flash, and almost gets the kill. I'm pretty sure he lived there from Potion Cookie, was able to survive it, but you can see he has a really good understanding of pre-moving when his opponent has an incentive. When they're walking up to get farm or even XP, he's already moving ready for the trade to make his opponent make that decision. It doesn't matter if he got ganked here. There's no way he can die to Poppy Cassante, so even though he knows Poppy's topside, it doesn't matter because he has such a big lead already. But now that he's low on mana, he bases here. If you're curious about what he bought, refill, longsword, and boots, the best he could afford, and straight back to lane. So he based it mainly for mana, even though he couldn't get the best buy possible. He couldn't get a Swifty boots or something like that. He was so low mana that it's better for him to base now and be in a position of strength with the wave bouncing back towards him. So trims the wave a little bit, trying to make sure the wave's not too big when he goes for his trade, and now letting the wave come in even more before he tries to run him down and abuse a long lane. Keep in mind from earlier, he now has flash advantage, or both summon and spell advantage. It's going to be really hard for Cassante once the wave is here. So that's exactly what happens. He's going to let this wave settle, let it move in one more time, and then he's going to go. So pulls the wave back to here, and now the Cassante is pretty much checkmated. He can continue to zone XP. He can play to receive a gank. He can run him down if he walks up. So it's not really much that Cassante can do in this position because he's already down too much XP. So waiting for level 6, moves in now because he knows he will get level 6 during the fight. You'll see very shortly he moves in now. Also getting a gank at the same time. He's able to get himself the first blood. So you can see the main reason he was able to get such a big lead early game, 10 CS lead and a massive XP lead, and even put himself in a position where his jungler can gank for him, is due to how he played that level 1. He didn't give Cassante any breathing room from the start. He left before he even saw Cassante and guarded the wave, so that Cassante couldn't get any XP for free. So now heading back to lane, if you're curious about what he picked up, just bought the cloth armor and a longsword, and you'll notice he's not running straight through lane, as he wants to deploy more flexibly and get his ward on the way back, so that he doesn't have to leave his position to ward later on. He knows he wants to play really aggressive on this freeze, so if he gets his ward down now, he doesn't have to leave his lane and do it in the future. So it takes a trade away from the wave, little wave control tip as well. You can see he pulled the wave up to here, because even though it wouldn't have hit tower, it would have been so close to tower, that when the wave killed the melees, his melee minions would have moved up, took tower shots, and that would have made the wave bounce back towards Cassante a lot faster, which is not what he wants. He wants to freeze and play for another kill, while Cassante has no flash, and while Void Grubs aren't up. The best time to freeze and play for advantage is when there's nothing else to do, of course, and in this case with Grubs being down, is the perfect timer for him to look for that. So you'll see he's looking to guard the minions. If you play for it, I'm going to attack you. And Cassante goes for an angle. Something you'll notice here, he doesn't auto attack him straight away. He waits for the Cassante shield to drop off before he commits his auto attack, really maximizing his damage. And he clicks away straight away, trying to dodge the Cassante W. It still hit him, undodgeable ability, pretty OP, but good try by him. And he holds onto his E the whole time. No point using E and getting it blocked by Cassante W, ulti, or W2. So he holds onto it this entire time to make sure he doesn't lose out on that CC. And Gallo comes on in, but he would have got the solo kill anyway. You can see Gallo just popped in for the assist. So all of this, he's in a game-winning position now. All of this advantage came from the way he played as level 1. It's really important that you try to emulate it and push your limits on this champion, as level 1 is just, the power is unmatched in so many different matchups. Moving on to our next matchup, this game he's playing up against a Jace, so a range top counter pick. And something you'll notice right away, he has a level 1 gameplay, very different to before. Instead of trying to loop behind zone XP, not really possible versus a strong range top laner. He's going to be utilizing bush control to conserve HP, but he still plays for prio in this game. So he starts Q level 1 to get the first 3 minions, did barely miss that one, but got it in the end. And you'll see a big benefit to the Q start in these range matchups is a huge AoE spell on the wave, especially if you hit your opponent, is going to be able to help you get prio, because you can see here, he picks up this minion, gets the Q, the healing as well, and trims the wave at the same time. So he was able to get level 2 first in this lane, and tries to use it here, clicks onto him level 2 versus 1, the Jace did see it coming and space it out, but maybe versus a low ranked opponent you could get that advantage there. So Q again, it's going to be really hard to do a two-wave crash in a melee versus range matchup. But it doesn't mean you can't get pro, it just means you have to slow it down and go for a three-wave crash. The reason for that is because their range, they can hit the wave the whole time. Where imagine this was a melee champ, you could stand here, zone him from the wave while you trim it. It's going to be really hard for them to stop you, but because he's range, he can poke the Darius down if he tries to do that and trim the wave. So he had to slow down his push and go for a three-wave crash instead, but still going to be fine. So it goes for a pull here. You'll notice something here where he clicks towards the Jace a lot. If the Jace clicks backwards, he clicks back as well. But if the Jace clicks towards him and auto attacks him, then he goes for the hook. So you see this timer when the minion is low HP is when he goes for it. Walks towards him right now. The Jace stopped to auto attack him, which slows down his movement, so he was able to get his hook here. So E auto clicks down here before he goes for the Q, not only to increase the chance it'll hit, but to hit the entire wave at the same time with the outer ring of the Q to really speed up his push. Where if he just EQ'd straight away, his inner part of the Q would have hit most of the wave, and it would have slowed down his push. So he cleanly crashes wave 3 under tower. Not a single minion didn't touch the tower, so now it's going to bounce back very cleanly for him as well. Now keep in mind he is weak side this game. Karthus is down here. Nocturne's pathing up, so he gets a ward down there before he looks for his all-in rundown. So now just looking to conserve HP before the wave gets into a good spot. But you can see, just because he's melee versus range doesn't mean he's letting the Jace push and just trying to hide in the bush and let Jace get pro like that. Because the problem with that is Jace will get level 2 first, level 3. He'll be able to poke him down, probably zone him from minions as well, and Jace will maintain high HP. But now he was able to make it a bit volatile, get Jace to about 75%, burn his potions as well, so now he's going to be in a pretty good position for this bounce back. Now, the Nocturne did come up for a dive very shortly, you can see, but he did play it extremely well. So Nocturne goes for this dive here, he goes for Insta E into Q, so that Nocturne can't flash dodge it, he still CC'd, gets the 2-man Q for the double healing, and then just goes down this Jace. So it's already going to be dead, you'll see very shortly, flash auto, and then maintains the distance with the Ghost, and he's able to pick up the kill. So I'd say a huge takeaway we can learn from this type of VOD is the way he's playing up against ranged tops isn't just sitting in bushes the whole time. He's still trying to conserve HP. He's not getting poked down freely, but he's still playing for pro, he's still playing for trades, and making it volatile enough that if he can crash a wave while getting level 2 vs 3 advantage and trading, then he can play more aggressive on the bounce back, or if he gives Jace the pro, you can still attack on the bounce back, especially if it's a bad range top player, but if you give them full pro and they know what they're doing, and they abuse level 2 advantage, level 3, then when the wave is coming back towards you, it's going to be too big of a wave under your tower, they can poke you even more, so that when the wave bounces back, it's going to be hard to get the opportunity that he just got in this game. Moving on to Mirage, our Korean Darius, this game playing up against a Gangplank. And something you're going to notice right away as we review this guy, he makes every matchup he plays as volatile as possible, and Gangplank is no exception. So we see him taking over the bush level 1, looking to get behind him when the wave settles, and make this matchup volatile. The GP does have Ignite though, so he does have to keep that into account when he goes for all-ins. So fishes for a Q straight away, gets the poke onto him, trims the wave at the same time, and able to kite back into the bush and not tank that barrel. So here he actually did something well that didn't pan out for him. He pretended to go for the minion and click backwards to dodge the GPE, but the Gangplank's barrel placement was quite good, so he did end up hitting that one. So here as well, goes again for another Q, able to get a bit extra sustain from that, and another great barrel placement by GP. So Gangplank goes in here to pop passive and get Ignite onto him, and this was really impressive to me. So this all in here, he pops Ghost, he runs him down, you can see, but he's tanking the wave, he's got ignited. If Gangplank hits him a couple more times, he's going to die here for 2 GP and the wave, even though Gangplank has 4 stacks on him right now. I guarantee 99% of Darius players would hit the GP here, but instead he kites out, waits for his Q to come back up, waits for the wave to get a bit lower, and then he goes back in. So flash auto just before the bleed drops off, gets his 5 stacks, commits the Q. Gangplank does flash inside the Q to not give him the healing, but his Q hits the wave as well, and able to get level 2 off that, and picks up a kill. So really impressive all-in. I guarantee the majority of Darius players hit that GP there, you get 5 stacks, and that would mean he would lose that all-in. So you can see that something that's really common from both Raider and Mirage here is the way they're utilizing their Q for the wave. They're using it to get levels up, they're using it to get pro, while trading at the same time. So that during an all-in, if the opponent goes onto them, they've got the creep and the XP advantage. So we can see as well, coming back to lane in a flexible way, getting his ward down, so that if he plans to play aggressive now, he's got that vision. Because you've probably been in this situation before, where your wave is pushing out, you want to play aggro, and you go and ward, and you get ganked while warding, or you get ganked before you have a chance to. So if you ward on your way back to lane, like we saw Raider and Mirage do, then you can avoid that scenario. So yeah, just pops the bone plating. This time he's not going to play too aggressive right now, as he doesn't have any summoner spells up. He's mainly going to be looking to trim, keep the wave here for as long as he can, and then play a bit more aggressive on the bounce back here. So trims the wave, looks to push it out, and then he decides he's had enough, pushes out the wave, and starts to take over the bushes as well. So notice here it was warded because this one minion chased him in for a little bit, so he knew he had a ward in and out, so took over the third bush, and looking to make it volatile. So starts his own gangplank away, looks to trade a bit more aggressive, great spacing by GP there, but he was able to get the barrel there, and now looking for a more volatile all-in. Hecarim did come up here, and sweep out his ward. So he initially thought about basing, but didn't want to base with his wave in an awkward position. So he just went and replaced the ward. Hecarim's not the scariest champ ever as well, level 4, so he can play this one out. So you can see taking over the bush, queuing the wave as well, keeping it trimmed, doesn't want to let Gangplank get a big stack wave and XP advantage. So still trimming it, looking to fish for Qs at the same time. And then initially he thought about basing, but he decided to stay as the wave was coming back. If he bases now, GP will one-shot this wave and base as well at the same time. And then Darius will lose more than GP did. So he chooses to stay instead, and his ghost was coming up soon. That could have been a factor as well. So takes over this bush, trims the wave with Q, picks up some farm, and now he sees his 1 minion off level 6, so he goes in now. So auto W, clicks away, doesn't use his Q right away, gets the third auto attack before he Qs. Just misses it, good spacing by GP, but he dodges the barrel there, hooks him back in, auto W, and you can see the Axiom Arcanist damage there, dumps the ulti onto his head, and almost gets the kill there. So GP just lived 1 HP, but he pushed the wave, and now looking to chase him down. He's in this uncomfortable position where he's just bleeding out farm. Can't really last at anything. Of course, if Darius walked up there, tanked the barrel, he would die, but he put GP in a really uncomfortable position. So kites down here, grabs the Scrying Bloom just to make sure Gangplank actually recalled, and grabs some extra sustain from the fruit. So comes straight back to lane, and right now Gangplank's coming back with big item advantage, so he just wants to one-shot this wave and recall himself. That's exactly what he did here. Got the base off and come straight back. Curious about the item, he went Boots of Swiftness, really good into GP. He's now got Swifty Boots, Ghost, and Flash versus no Boots Gangplank. Of course, he's got a big mobility advantage. So comes back now with the wave coming back towards him. So he's in a position where he wants to look for an all-in, especially with the XP lead that he's granted himself from how he played the early lane. Goes for the hook straight away and goes into auto Q and then auto W and now just chases him down. So holds onto his Ghost, doesn't need it just yet. Another auto, and you can see the Axiom Arcane is about to kick in, and he's able to pick up that kill. So I'd say the most impressive part about how he played this matchup was the 1 to 3. You probably hear me say that every time, but it's the most important part about how you play these types of matchups, really volatile matchups, especially on a champ like Darius, and he's able to grant a really big lead due to knowing his limits in the all-in and knowing how to utilize his Q in a way where he could poke down his opponent and trim the wave at the same time to maintain prio and the XP lead. And for our final matchup this game, he's playing up against a Nah. And if you think he's going to play any less volatile, because he's up against a ranged top, you are mistaken. He even started Doran's Blade in this game. He doesn't care, and he's going to look to all-in from level 1. So waits for the wave to come in, walks behind it, and forces a big trade, chases Nara away from the wave. And here again, you'll see a really common pattern from the good Darius players, utilizing his Q to hit the wave and trade at the exact same time, and even hitting the outer ring on most of these creeps. So clicks backwards, playing off that Q cooldown, doesn't really need to use auto attacks that much. Something you'll notice is he drops a lot of CS, prioritizing the trade over the minions can be really important in a volatile matchup, where if he even went for 2 or 3 of those CS and I autoed him 3 or 4 more times, that changes the options he has in this lane. So he goes for the trade again, and here he did make his first mistake of the lane. He did pop Ghost early, only got 1 auto from it. If I had to assume why, maybe he thought he'd get level 2 during that all-in and be able to hook the Naira. Either way, he did make a bit of a mistake there, but didn't end up mattering. So goes for the E, trades E for Nah jump, and looking to punish Nah when that spell is down. But Nah did just pop Mega, it's going to be a tricky one. Goes for a ward, because he knows Balviv can do the old Raptors Red Golems gank top, the gank we all hate. And now looking to keep prio in this game. So uses Q on the wave to make sure Nah didn't get an opportunity to be level 3 versus 2. So he wants to be level 3 before him, just to rob him of that opportunity. And he's still going to be looking to let the wave come in after he goes for a crash. So you can see him trying to hard shove this wave and walks all the way back here. So the wave comes back out to him. And now he can look to play aggressive. So baits out the Nah Q. You can see he already dodged before Nah through the Q, knowing that Nah would toss it out, pre-dodging that ability. And now that's on cooldown, he's got room to fish for a Q. Did end up missing it, but the idea was there. So now waiting for his next Q, goes for the hook. Nah did just fail spacing there and instantly goes onto him. You can see he's running towards the tower after hitting hook, cutting off his escape, and looking for that all-in. So Q flash gets the outer ring of the Q here, and able to pick up first blood. So you'll see a really common thing that our Darius players are doing in these matchups is a really good idea on how to play out their lane from level 1 to 3. They're not really giving their opponents any breathing room in any of these matchups. They're starting off every lane as aggressive as they can and playing for those advantages. Now, the way they're doing it, it is matchup specific. You do have to learn the matchups, but you can see how many options this champion has. So crashes wave, recalls, and now the wave is coming back towards him. So he's going to be looking to punish, especially on his next ghost timer. So it goes for a Q, pops that bone plating there, and does have to be a bit mindful of not getting mega on this timer. So it goes for a Q as well, and trims the wave a little bit. So level 5, did end up missing his hook. So it goes for a fight here, because his Hecarim is in the area. Normally wouldn't take all this HP for no reason, but he was trying to bait him in, and give a gank for his jungler. So trims the wave, gonna be waiting for his spells to come back up, and then go for that all-in. Ghost is about 50 seconds away now, so he's just trying to conserve HP and to play more aggressive on that cooldown. So we can see here, just trimming the wave and making it go back to the center here. Fogs down here, goes for the Scrying Bloom just to make sure Na doesn't have any wards, and now looking to play more aggressive. Ghost up in 15, and he just burned the Na-E with his Q, so he's going to be looking to play aggressive on this time. Na-E cooldown's extremely long, so he's going to be looking to punish while his Ghost is up, and the Na-E is down here. So pulls the wave a little bit, puts a bit of pressure onto Na. You can see, again, 1 XP off level 6, exactly like he did last game, looking for that all-in before his opponent sees. He even lets 3 minions die to mask the fact that he got level 6. That's a little bit overkill, but I love the idea, and it has worked for him in the past. So we can see now, utilizing the bushes to go for an all-in, pops Ghost right away. So leads with WQ to get the slow. Na does dodge it really nicely with his E. And again, a really nice skill to watch from the good Darius players is the way they kite. You need it. You can't just sit on your opponent and headbutt them to 5 stacks every time. And this was no exception. So you can see Auto gets him on 2 stacks, clicks away here. He's buying time for his Q to come back up. And then comes back in just before the bleed drops off. Goes for the hook into Auto WQ. Able to get 5 stacks and then buffer ulti before he got CC'd. So you can see the Axiom Arcane is coming in clutch here as well. Didn't even go Nimbus Cloak in this game. Pretty sure there, if he didn't have Axiom Arcanus, he would have lost his all-in. So it definitely changes the amount of all-in threat you have in a matchup. Because if he didn't have that extra damage here, he'd get W into ult into the wall and die. You can see the extra 56 damage played a huge difference in this lane for him. Moving on to team fighting, and I wanted to first showcase an example of Raider doing a standard Darius team fight with the standard build, so Stride Breaker into Styrax with the Nimbus Cloak and Celerity build, before we watch one of our Korean Darius with the Spear of Shojin and the Axiom Arcanus, just so you can get a rough idea of the difference in damages. So we can see, arriving to the objective early, really important for Darius to get there first, before the fight begins, help get control, and play a front to back. I still see a lot of Darius players try to flash onto the backline. That doesn't mean you can never do it, but more often than not, you just want to kill the easiest target on the front, their brain dead tank champion, get a reset or 5 stacks, and then wreak havoc on the backline. Exactly what it does here, just kills this level 8 useless Poppy, but now that his passive is popped, and he's got his reset, he's the best champ in the game, so just instantly ults onto the Israel to keep his passive going, then it goes for a Q flash W buffer follows the Israel's flash, and he's able to pick up that double kill. So you can see, arrive to the objective early, really standard team fighting for Darius. That's what you want to be looking to aim to do in the majority of your Darius team fights. And now for our final example, showcasing the Spear of Shojin build. We can see in this game, it is a 20-minute Arakan fight, so it is a bit later in the game than the fight we just watched before. And as for his build, Shojin into Styrax, like we touched on with the Axiom Arcanus rune, but if you're a Darius player, you're still going to notice a difference in damage in this fight. So you'll see he pushed in top, made Gangplank respond, used his pressure to create a numbers advantage that allows him to either get a 5v4 team fight, or if the opponents respect, like they do here, he gets full vision control for his team. So now the enemy team has to walk into his vision and give him that front to back style that Darius loves. So you can see the structure of the fight is going to be exactly the same as before. He wants to be getting here early, getting control, and playing a front to back and resetting off the front line, but the damage is definitely noticeably different. So it goes on the counter straight away, pulls out of the shroud, and gets a reset. So first killed them, and now that he's got his reset, he's just going to run around one-shotting everyone. So you can definitely see this type of build, this style, not only is it good early game in terms of the early power spike from Tunneler, not needing to build items like Sheen and things of that nature, but if you're up against a front to back comp, well, a dive comp, I should say, the enemy team champs have to run into, like in this case, the Hecarim, the Rel, champs that are going forward, and it's quite easy to reset, your damage is going to be noticeably higher. Alright everyone, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed the video, and if there's any champion you'd like to see me cover next, see how they're doing in Season 15, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'll see what I can do, and I'll see you all next time.